Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Everyday Pundits podcast. And unfortunately, Evan is not here today because he is working. So I will be doing it by myself. Just kidding. We have Harry back, who was on a few episodes ago, and I know everyone enjoyed that. So welcome back again, Harry. Thanks for filling in.
Hello, thank you for having me again.
Yeah.
Pleasure to be back.
It was fun last time.
It was really fun.
Yeah, it was good.
Obviously better than Ev, so
We love you, Ev. We miss you. We wish you weren't working.
keep working hard.
Yeah. But so let's start off as we always do. Timestamps down in the description. If you are listening on iTunes or Spotify, make sure you give us a follow. If you're hearing this clip on Instagram, make sure you click the link to all of our social media sites where you can catch all the podcast episodes. So let's get into it. Just wrapped up the Italian Grand Prix in Monza, and it was a great weekend.
It was a really fun weekend to watch.
I think with a nickname like Temple of Speed,
Yeah,
probably not going to be a disappointing race.
No, especially when you consider the big names to be associated with Monza and the weekend that they had. It's
Yeah,
good,
definitely.
thrilling weekend to say the least.
Yeah, so what we were thinking is we'll just quickly cover some of the F1 news from the last week or so, just before we get into the race, so that if you want to skip the entire racing, at least you'll know the ins and outs of the Formula One world this week. So obviously Pierre Gasly clinched his first ever race win today at Monza, and big news, especially for a Renault fan like you, Harry.
Yeah,
No more Renault, or not as we know it.
Yeah, branching out into Alpine. I think that's how we.
Yeah, I think that's how we've decided we're going to say it.
Yeah, that's what we're going with. We're going with Alpine. I think they're a part company of Renault.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Dacia, Alpine, and Renault is the main three there.
When I think of Formula One, I don't think Dacia.
When I think of actual cars, I don't think of Dacia. But then again, you don't think of Renault, to be honest.
True, I can kind of agree. You
can't really see a Megane going down Monza, could you?
But I think it's more of a rebrand. Like Renault's still going to be doing most of the legwork.
Yeah.
Apparently, they've gone for French colours for the next car's livery, so that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I think they're trying to promote the Alpine brand because I think it's got to the point where everyone knows what Renault are. Yeah, and they've got a new CEO in charge of all three companies, so I think it's just...
I don't know if I think I would have loved to see they've gone back to, with Fernando Alonso coming back.
The orange and blue.
Yeah.
The orange and blue is iconic. I think it's just... You looked at every time you looked at a track, you just saw where a Renault was.
Yeah,
it's getting like that with Racing Point, really. And
I know you said like it's a bit weird now they've got the nostalgia for Fernando Alonso.
Yeah,
coming back.
so weird
to suddenly change up the branding. When,
you'd think with the return of the man who won you championships, you'd keep the branding to go alongside him.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, obviously he's coming back to promote a new brand. You think you'd go with a younger driver to try and be a face of a brand?
Guan Yu Zhou would have been the obvious choice.
Yeah, everyone in F1 would see that being the obvious choice. Everyone in F2 would have said he's the man that's going to step into that place.
Like a rusty, aging Fernando Alonso.
Yeah, we saw what he did at McLaren. He was more of a problem there than he was a gift. You know, if anything, Lando Norris coming in was breath of fresh air. Yeah, exactly.
We'll see how Alonso gets on. I'm hoping it goes well. You know, honestly, I think Renault being good in the sport is only a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, it adds to the competition, doesn't it?
Well, we'll definitely get on to add it to the competition. But another big piece of news: no more Williams family involved at Williams. Sad day, you know. Williams have done amazing things for Formula One, and to see Claire Williams stepping down from her role as deputy director at Williams, it's a sad day. I'm hoping that this new Williams will kind of stay true to what we know Williams are. I think their cash injection is phenomenal. I'm hoping it brings Williams back to being a competitive team, but we'll have to just wait and see, I think.
Yeah, I think we saw the passion that she had for the team and the sport at the end of the race when we saw the tears flooding from her, and the lovely messages that were passed on from Latifi and probably Russell.
Well, look how many people owe at least part of their career to Williams.
Yeah, definitely. And I think as fans, a lot of us were invested in the sport around a time where Williams were thriving.
Yeah, definitely.
If you mentioned big names, a lot of them would have passed through Williams, as you said.
I saw a clip earlier of Michael Schumacher squeezing Rubens Barrichello, and obviously people were commenting saying those were the good old days where you'd see a Williams overtaking a Mercedes.
Yeah.
It's just not something you'll ever see anymore.
No, I mean, you don't really see much of anyone overtaking a Mercedes anymore. But
no, that's true. That's very true.
It's a shame, but it's also a time to look forward and prosper for Williams. And I mean, even for Claire Williams herself to step back and probably watch the investment take shape and see where the team could be going might bring her
definitely
joy in the future. So
I think Williams family, they've been involved in the sport for so long now. And it's definitely the last 2 to 3 years have been a big downhill.
Yeah.
And I think for them, as much as you always want to see the Williams family involved in the sport of Formula One, sometimes I think you've got to say, well, it's not been going well. We're obviously not doing something right, especially when other teams have got these massive budgets.
Yeah.
And, you have a big sponsor drop out. I think sometimes you have to think, well, maybe this is where the time's right to...
Yeah. I wouldn't say they're going out on a high, but before things got really ugly...
Yeah, so far, what's happened this season has been quite good from Williams.
Yeah. I mean...
At least he wasn't leaving last season where, that car was just horrendous.
That car was horrendous last year.
It was terrible.
Yeah, I think, and as with the drivers they've got, the future does look positive. I mean...
I think George Russell, George the Muscle Russell, he's a crazy talent. I think, when he gets... into a really competitive car, even if he was in the AlphaTauri or if he was in even the Haas, to be honest, I think he would do unbelievable things in one of those cars.
I do think he's lined up for that Mercedes seat.
I'm hoping so. I think Bottas needs to be worried. We'll get onto that anyway.
We'll move into that.
Only other bit of news that we haven't covered is Racing Point have dropped their appeal against the sanctions that were imposed on them by the FIA for whatever rule breakages may or may not have occurred. But
I think they're at the point where they realize their success is more than the
definitely.
It's a slap on the wrist at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And the way their season's going, a slap on the wrist is not a big issue to them.
15 points.
Yeah, they're still easily one of the best of the rest.
I think as well, what Racing Point need to understand is that they are looking to build. They've only been this is the first time they've been a truly podium challenging team consistently.
Yeah.
And what they need to realize is that you can't just rush straight ahead and be looking for constructors and drivers championship wins.
Yeah.
You need to build you're really good at this year. And you need to carry forward that momentum and get used to being a team of managing trying to go for podiums rather than just managing trying to place for championship points.
Yeah.
Because they've not had to do this before.
No, yeah, definitely. I mean, you can get to the point where you see it where if you don't start getting podium... Well, if you're one of the if you're a top 10 team and you get a podium, you need to be comfortable with obtaining top 10 still with the occasional podium. If you're constantly looking to get podiums, the outlook then is if you don't get that podium, there's downfall from it. So I think you have to manage your expectations more than at the same time as managing the whole brand.
Yeah, definitely. And I think learning how to try and win a race, it's got to be for the race crew of a team that's never really challenged for career wins. It's going to be, and I think what they need to do is take comfort from the fact that they are doing well, and they're, regardless of what the Constructors' Championship standings look like at the moment, going forward, they will be a team that's going to be challenging big time. So, I know actually another interesting point is most of the teams that had appealed the decision from the FIA and were looking for harsher sanctions have dropped. The only team that hasn't dropped their appeal for that is Ferrari.
Yeah, well, that's because Racing Point are currently looking like what Ferrari should be looking like.
Yeah, definitely. Apparently, this is I can't remember which Formula One channel on YouTube I took this from, but it's apparently could be something to do with the fact that Williams Racing Point may benefit from getting some new Mercedes parts next year, because
again
they're in line to get those new parts, because they've used 2019 parts rather than this year's parts.
Right.
They'll be in line for the upgrades.
I see.
From next year. So I think they're a bit like,
Ferrari
that's
are
not
opposing the fact that future benefits are also in line.
Exactly, because obviously there's not going to be a lot of upgrades for some teams.
Yeah.
But, Racing Point do stand to benefit from whatever changes Mercedes may make.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. But I thought, should we get into the meat and potatoes of this week?
Yeah, we've had our veg, we've had our greens.
Yeah, we've had the veg. Now we're moving on. We've sidelined that and go, let's move on to the good bits.
Definitely.
But speaking of Ferrari, terrible weekend again.
Yeah. At what point do we stop calling these terrible weekends and just start expecting them?
Speaking of the new normal. This seems to be Ferrari's new normal, really.
Yeah, it's I think a lot of them can see the issue, but no one wants to bring it up. They're just growing tired with it.
For me, it just starts and ends with Mattia Binotto.
That's what I mean. So it's if everyone in the team knows where the issue lies, but no one's willing to change, then where do you go from there? I heard Vettel over the radio today. Obviously his brakes failed. I think it was the brake line fully just blew up. And usually over the team radio, you hear some passion even when you're dropping out of a race.
They both sound dejected.
Leclerc was a little bit more. There was passion in the fact that he was going, oh God, I've crashed out. I'm sorry, guys. But Vettel was it was like he was reporting it the week after it happened.
Even in qualies, like when Charles Leclerc went out, he said, that's the best I can do.
Yeah, exactly.
He just sounds so dejected.
The team know.
Like
the team
Vettel didn't even make it out of Q1.
No. First lap he did, we finished 20th, didn't he?
I think they said that, I couldn't remember what they said, but it's just insane to see both Ferraris out before Q3.
Yeah.
At Monza, a track, this is where the Tifosi gather, this is their stronghold, and to see them, like, at least an Italian team won today at Monza, but it's sad.
Yeah,
sad.
I mean,
and I'm glad Charles is okay after that.
That crash
truly
was,
not a horrible crash to watch.
When I first saw that, I thought that could have been a nasty one.
Yeah.
But I think the barrier was obviously good enough for him to hit, and as long as the front didn't crumble in, he was all right. But yeah, the rest, even through qualifying, at that point it's not down to the drivers. Obviously Vettel is a well-established driver in the Formula One scene, and Charles Leclerc is obviously a bright young talent who has won so many races already that you look at it and think this is obviously a team issue.
It's a big team issue.
When it was happening to Vettel and not necessarily Charles, you think, okay, maybe Vettel has lost his drive, and because he was leaving the team, maybe he knew that, okay, this season is a one-off season for him. But I think now it's evident that this is an internal problem.
Yeah.
As you said, just starts and ends with the.
Well, Karun Chandok actually did a really great piece for Sky, looking at the 2020 Spa lap from Charles Leclerc and the 2019 Spa lap, and you can actually see that this year's car is much better through the slow corners. Like by the end of Eau Rouge and down the Camel Straight, the 2020 car was like half a second.
Yeah, and that's a lot. That is a lot.
But then going through the twisty parts of the track, it made the 2020 car made up the half a second.
Yeah,
but
that's not Ferrari. That's
not
Ferrari.
It's not. It's very un-Ferrari-like, but you can really see how much they're down on power. When you think, like, just from the start-finish straight through La Source, Eau Rouge, and the Camel Straight, they're down half a second.
Half a second.
Like, it's crazy.
With a year to improve on that power.
I know. As well. It's very un-Ferrari-like.
The other one I saw was obviously Kimi Räikkönen previously set the fastest lap at Monza for a Ferrari, and then got dropped from the team at the age of 40 in 2020.
He's 41,
beating former teammates.
41 next month.
Yeah, so incredible story that, and shows the downfall of Ferrari, but also the the tributes that should be paid to Kimi Räikkönen. I mean, to still be going at the age he is.
I love Kimi.
You'd think there's no drive left today. In the man. Yeah,
all right, Kimi, calm down.
He rocks up with his towel around his neck and a cup of tea in his hand and drives like it was his Sunday morning.
Yeah, I think we've said it on the show before though that like Kimi obviously knows he's not going to win any races. He just loves driving fast.
Yeah,
like,
he still does himself proud though.
Yeah, definitely. But I know they mentioned it on the coverage today, and we had a chat about it just before we started. Obviously, at Juventus, Sarri was kicked out.
Yeah, he was
even
sacked.
though they won the Serie A.
Yeah, he was sacked for winning the Serie A. But obviously not succeeding in Champions League. But if you're holding your other companies to that high of a level...
Well, yeah, obviously, if those that don't know, I didn't know it today until they mentioned it on the coverage, that the same family that has the major control over Juventus has a big part of the control over the Ferrari F1 and road team. So I guess we may see Binotto out pretty soon.
I mean, if there were fans...
There's definitely cause for it.
If there was fans, you'd definitely be seeing Ferrari fans with Binotto out signs around the track. I mean, you'd have planes flying over the track with the banners revealing Binotto out, and
Lewis, tough day today for Lewis.
It wasn't. I mean, he still got to show his talents.
We all didn't need enough proof.
Yeah, exactly. Like, to not win a race and still be one of the drivers of the day is a spectacular feat no matter what.
Yeah, he's in Lewis Hamilton and that car are just such a cut above everyone else at the moment.
Yeah.
He's on a different plane even to Valtteri Bottas.
He is the embodiment of working hard but also having that talent naturally.
Yeah, definitely. Like, he is. You can't say it's the car because Bottas is in the same car. Yeah, and he's not doing what Lewis Hamilton is doing.
No, yeah.
Like, Lewis is just a cut above everyone else.
Obviously, credit to the team as well. The team around him is a spectacular team. I mean, I'd expect nothing less for an attaining world champion.
Like, the only person at the moment who's a comparable in terms of skill and is in a decent enough car is Max Verstappen. And I think the car is limiting him there. Like, I think Lewis would still win even if they were in equal cars, but he's probably the only person with enough talent and a good enough car to challenge Lewis.
Yeah,
in terms of
definitely.
If there's no problems and it's just a flat out race to see who's best.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the only driver you would say would have rivaled him would have been Vettel, and we've spoken about his downfall.
Getting car related.
Yeah, it was a great. I mean, obviously he made up. Was it 13 seconds before the safety car came out?
Yeah, it was a lot. So he was a 15-second lead after 20 laps. I think
that's ridiculous.
And then obviously for those who didn't watch the race, this is where it all sort of came undone because the safety car came out.
Due to Kevin Magnussen.
Yeah.
Pick up the Haas doing what they do best.
He had a brake failure as well, didn't he, K-Mag?
I think he had a payment from Carlos Sainz to crash out and get the safety car out. But
but obviously the safety car came out and Lewis and Antonio Giovinazzi thought, this is a great opportunity to pit because Lewis was actually called in by his race team. They said box, obviously to pit under the safety car and basically just get a free pit stop.
Yeah.
But
because he still would have come out in the front. I think he would have come out in front of the markers at the back.
Yeah, definitely. But Lewis, I think, clocked as he was going down the pit lane that there were red crosses, on the signs to say that the pit lane was closed.
Yeah, I think it's because I think Magnussen was. I think his brake failed right by.
Actually, no, he didn't have brake failure. I don't think he did. He had a power unit failure or something. I think.
Either way, the track had to be. There was debris on the track and everything, so I think a lot of people were leaving the pit to go out onto the track.
Where he pulled over was on the entrance into the pit.
Yeah, so they'd obviously closed that off, and I think Lewis being told box means that's actually that's obviously a team fault.
I think you can't you see the flashing signs, but you would have thought that your team wouldn't call you in unless they thought the pit lane was open. So. for those of you, like I said, that haven't been able to or didn't fully understand what was going on, obviously he's entered the pit lane illegally and he's had the pit stop, and obviously he's come out and the FIA have investigated it.
Yep.
And they've decided obviously it was an illegal pit stop, so they've given him a 10-second stop-go penalty.
Yeah.
So obviously when he has a number of laps in which to serve the penalty, and essentially what it involves, he has to drive into his pit box, stop the car for 10 seconds, and then he can go again.
Yeah.
But obviously that cost him big time, because when the pit lane did open, everyone else was able to get a free pit stop, and worked out great for Gasly and Stroll because they'd pitted the lap before.
Yeah. I think Stroll was second, but because of the lead he'd built up.
No, Stroll stayed out.
Yeah,
Stroll stayed out, and then under the red flag, he got a free pit stop.
Yeah. So then, straight after that, I, obviously for the people who weren't watching, what I thought was going to be a slow race due to the yellow flag then turned into a red flag when Charles Leclerc smacked into the side. He fully went, and there's debate whether over it was brake failure or just a steering issue.
Yeah, I think he
tried to counter steer and it didn't quite work.
You could see he lost the back end, oversteered.
Yeah,
and then he was compensated, but by that point, once he'd compensated, he couldn't get the car back round. He had no choice. But
he was trying to audition for Fast and Furious.
Yeah, the back end went, and
he was going for Tokyo Drift. That's what he was going for. But obviously the red flag came out then, and I think that's when Stroll pitted then.
He got. And
I think he went on hards. I think he went straight in on the hards then.
I don't know what he went on, but obviously, by the time the safety car ended, everyone had backed up to Lewis.
Yeah,
and so he set off. Yeah, try and build up a bit of a buffer before he served his
stop and go penalty.
But then there was the red flag, so obviously he had to come in, and he said, give me 2 laps, I'll make up 5 seconds, and he was on course to do that. He made up nearly 2 seconds in that first lap. Yeah, but obviously he came in, and then once he served the penalty, he was right at the back.
Yeah, he was. I think there was obviously before that had happened though. He was at the back. I mean, don't get me wrong. He is the back marker, but he was 16th, I think, when the but put it in perspective.
Verstappen's retirement helped him.
Yeah, I mean, put it in perspective. He was 30 seconds behind Bottas when he came out of the pit lane.
Yeah, and then he finished. I think you said 7 seconds.
7 seconds behind him.
He's made up 23 seconds in. Was around like 20 laps, I think.
Yeah.
It's crazy numbers. Really.
Finish. I mean, they didn't quite cover it on the actual coverage, but he was coming through in 9th, and the coverage said, "Oh, I think this is his last chance to push Ocon. I don't think he'll push Ricciardo in 6th."
Because he was roughly, once he overtook Ocon,
he overtook Ocon on the last corner. And he finished in 7th.
Yeah, because I think by that point, once he'd overtaken Ocon, he was going into the last corner. He's around 8 seconds.
Yeah, I think he's about 6 seconds behind Ricciardo. I mean, a testament to the man himself to come from far back to finish where he did.
That many places. In terrible air on a fast track.
Yeah.
It was amazing. But let's move on to the man of the hour.
Yeah.
The man that we have praised so much over the last couple of weeks. Pierre Gasly.
Yeah.
I mean, what a race.
Oh, what a difference. What a difference. I mean, if you said to me a year ago when he got kicked off the Red Bull team, where he was the fastest lap merchant, he was slapped on a soft tyres on the final 2 laps to go and get the fastest lap, to where he is now, finishing in first place with AlphaTauri, I would have said you're lying.
Ahead of 2 McLarens.
2 McLarens. Two McLarens that look very good this weekend.
Red Bull former,
Albon weekend, but 2 Racing Point cars that are looking
that really probably should have been up on the podium, higher up. I mean, really, if you took those 2 cars and said which one do you think is going to win, the Racing Point is way faster in the straight line than the AlphaTauri. But
2 Renault cars that in the previous 2 weeks have looked.
He's beaten a good field.
It's not a weak. Even though the top teams have dropped out, and Verstappen has also dropped out. It's still a very strong field to push through.
Yeah, like he had Sainz caning it, and let's not forget, Sainz finished P3 after quali, so Sainz is fast around this track.
Yeah,
he's fast around this track, and for him to hold off Sainz for that, he held him off for like 5 or 6 laps.
Yeah, I mean, everyone says, there's debate of he came out from the safety cars in a position of P3, P2, P1, whatever it was. But all of that aside, you've still got to hold off the rest of the pack for as long as he did. And I think that is, I mean, going into, obviously, if there was 1 more or 2 more laps, Sainz would have had him.
Yeah.
Sainz was pushing him really hard. But the rest of, I mean, Bottas had the opportunity to grind up that field.
I'm slowly but surely losing confidence in Valtteri Bottas this year. I think he's a fantastic driver, but I think he psyched himself out of the race today with this terrible start. He just.
I think it's getting to the point where people want to see what George Russell can do in it.
I think if somebody's going to go from Mercedes, it's got to be Bottas.
Well, it's not going to be Hamilton.
No, it's got to be Bottas. There's just no way you can make the case that Hamilton should go over Bottas.
Yeah, unless they financially cap salaries. I mean,
maybe.
That's the only
then
way
Hamilton's got to retire from the sport in that case.
Yeah. Or 3 teams have got a combined payment and share him every weekend.
But yeah, good for the McLarens. Happy to see Norris and Sainz doing well.
Really good weekend for the McLaren.
I'm happy for Stroll as well. Another podium in quick succession.
I think, I heard rumours maybe 3 weeks ago that obviously his father is the one who is the major shareholder of Racing Point.
Yeah, he owns it.
He was growing tired of his own son, and I heard rumours that he was thinking about dropping him and pursuing Sergio Perez as a main driver. Yeah. So seeing him get on the podium.
Well, I think Perez has got to be thinking talks with Sebastian Vettel are going on currently, supposedly.
Really?
Well, he's Vettel and Racing Point have been in talks. Obviously, Vettel's being unceremoniously booted out of Ferrari next year.
Yeah.
So they are thinking. I mean,
Racing Point have got the money to throw it.
I would take Seb over either of those drivers personally.
Yeah, definitely.
So at the moment, Perez is going to be thinking, "Well, I've really got to make my case as to why I should be the one that stays." Most people would say that Perez is a better driver than Stroll. Yeah. At the moment, he's not showing it. Stroll's beating him every week.
I think with Perez, he comes with big financial backing.
Yeah, he does.
He also comes with big exposure in South America.
He's got a lot of experience as well. You can see in the way he races, the way he manages his tires.
Yeah. And he's a quality driver. I mean, the other thing he brings over Stroll, in my opinion, is he is probably the best driver in the wet out on that field at the moment.
Yeah, they're both fantastic.
But Perez has been so good in the wet for God knows how long now. So yeah, I mean, Racing Point going forward is obviously.
I'm going to be honest. I want to see more. I've been at first 5 episodes. I've sung his praises, and I still think he's a fantastic driver. But I need to see more.
Well, yeah, especially when we saw Hülkenberg come in and do just as well, if not better.
Mate,
yeah, exactly. So yeah, argument to be made all around the board for Racing Point.
Quiet weekend for Renault, but I think they should be happy with where they finished.
You say quiet weekend. I think barring the issues Daniel Ricciardo had in qualifying.
The thing is with Ricciardo, he didn't really have to do very much today.
I guess not. But at one point before that safety car came out, he was 4th, I think. So when that safety car comes out and he goes into the pits and came out, I think he came out 12th and Ocon came out 13th. Did really well to get up to 6th. I mean, he was pushing Bottas going into the final 5 laps.
Yeah.
Again, given another 2 laps, he probably would have pushed past him. But yeah, I going into the weekend, I was optimistic about a podium for Daniel Ricciardo.
Yeah, I think Daniel Ricciardo's been racing very well the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's a massive loss for him to leave Renault. Obviously, it hasn't worked out for him.
Yeah, I think he's going to be absolutely flying in that McLaren. We said this though when the race got. That McLaren is rapid in a straight line.
That McLaren
moment.
Is very good. And Lando Norris is just such a calm driver. Someone so young, he has the head of a Fernando Alonso, doesn't he? So. Obviously McLaren next year would be thinking, well, we've lost Carlos Sainz to Ferrari, but at the end of the day, we might have 2 drivers that would compete.
I think it's a good trade.
Yeah, definitely.
I think Daniel Ricciardo suits the McLaren car.
I think he suits the team.
I think he's a lot more suited to the McLaren car than he is to the Renault, personally.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think Sainz,
Sainz
would be amazing in a good Ferrari.
Yeah. I mean, Sainz has obviously got he's got it in his blood, hasn't he? I mean, his father is successful as a rally driver, and you can see it when he races. He has that racing knowledge.
Yeah, definitely.
But Daniel Ricciardo is just an adrenaline junkie. He loves it. He loves it. So, really, you look at it, you think, I don't know how he has got along with Cyril. The two people are so far apart in what they consider to be acceptable. But yeah, I mean, props to him for a weekend that was definitely an improvement on where Renault were at the beginning of the season.
100%. Shall we move on? We are roughly 30 minutes in, so that's normally where we tend to call the cut-off for the Formula One, because we don't want people to get sick of listening to us talk about it. So I thought we could do the cricket next. Haven't got much to talk about. But obviously, the second T20 has just wrapped up a couple of hours ago, now at the time that we're recording this. Obviously, England, 2 great wins. I think England have got to be really happy to have these 2 wins. Yeah. Because arguably, for me at the moment, I know the standing says they're the best, but that Australian team is a phenomenal T20 team. You got you got the Finchers, David Warner, Graham Maxwell, Pat Cummins, Steve Smith. You have some unreal names in that team. So for England to pull off 2 wins, especially in the first T20, the spectacular fashion that they pulled off the win, you got to be happy if you're England. Yeah, I think standouts for me, Milan and Butler. For England, Butler's played really well in both the games. I think he's looked really good. Late 40s in the first T20 and 70 something in the second T20. But yeah, he's looking really good. Archer is looking rapid in T20. Yeah. I think the shorter form of the game means that he doesn't have to really keep much in the tank.
Rashid looked good.
Yeah,
I think looked really good.
I think both. I'm happy to see Rashid playing cricket again. I think
definitely.
Him and Moeen Ali, I would have felt hard done by being left out of that test team because of a small, bad spell that they both had. Don't get me wrong, they've not been in great form of late. Last year or so, but
they're level-headed.
Moeen Ali had a nice little cameo at the end of the second T20. Yep. Big 6 and a big 4 sort of sealed the win for England. Yeah. But yeah, spectacular batting collapse from Australia helped England with that first T20. I think, because it started off so well for Australia. Finch and David Warner just teeing off, and everything looked like it was going so well, and then it all just fell apart. Steve Smith chucked his wicket away. Yeah,
that was disappointing to see. I'm not necessarily a neutral, but obviously, just as a general cricket fan, you love to watch Steve Smith go off.
Yeah, because Steve Smith, I love Steve Smith as a player.
Not the one from American Dad.
Don't get me wrong. I'm like, God, he's awkward to watch. But just watching him bat, there's a reason why he's arguably in the top 3 best batsmen in the world across multiple formats at the moment. Because he is just insane, in terms of his averages and stuff. But he just chucked his wicket away, and he knew that he chucked it away, and you could tell he was angry about it. Yeah, but
lovely to see Johnny Bairstow get the catch as well.
Yeah. But Butler and Milan seem to just be teeing off the last in these 2 games. So I think Butler in the Test series against Pakistan and the West Indies. I remember when we were talking about those, we said he has to really prove his worth in the Test form of the game to be in the Test side. But I think he's just playing. So he's obviously had a big 100 in the last Test against Pakistan. Now he's batted really well in these 2 T20 games. So I think his confidence must be up at the moment. He's definitely found maybe a small run of form, and I think England would have lost the last 2 T20s if he hadn't played well. So that was good to see. Yeah, definitely. Chris Jordan bowling well, Archer bowling well.
Tom Curran, I thought.
Yeah, Curran managed the end game really well. Yeah. The problem for me, Australia have. I don't know why Adam Zampa. I think he's not a bad bowler, but for me, why are you letting him bowl the 19th over? He's just not a death bowler.
Yeah, just looking at the statistics here. I mean, if you go through the England statistics of their bowling, I mean, the economy is roughly between 8 and 9. Looking at Adam Zampa alone, he's at an 11.75.
The thing for Zampa with me, I wasn't impressed with him in the 2019 World Cup either. I wasn't impressed with him then. I've watched him in these 2 games. I'm not really impressed with him now. I think he's really going to have to show that he can perform at this level, because he just the two he put in the slot to Moeen Ali is what lost him that game.
Yeah.
Like those, he literally just put two in the slot, and Moeen Ali can hit the ball a long way. He's very confident player of spin. And yeah, Zampa was just not the right choice. I don't know.
Yeah.
They had loads of options. They had Mitchell Starc. They had Pat Cummins.
Yeah, I don't think Mitchell Starc had a great
that's
series.
The thing.
Though.
Well, I would take Mitchell Starc over Adam Zampa
any
day
of
the week to
very
bowl
true.
at the death when it's a tight game. I don't know why you would bowl.
Maybe
Adam Zampa.
maybe they went on the fact that it could have been a bit of an unpredictable choice.
Yeah, I get that, but Zampa is just not a death bowler, and to me, hit them bowling him in the 19th just lost him that game. If that had been any of their other pace bowlers, which they have ample talent of, then they would have won that game. Especially like when they got such an insane team in the field as well. You got Warner's a great fielder.
Yeah.
Glenn Maxwell, probably arguably the best fielder in the world at the moment.
Yeah.
Pat Cummins and people like that, they can all field. Like they should, on paper, with that team, should have won those two games.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think England have got to be really proud that they managed to pull off a win against, well, the standard says they're the best team in the world. And England, I think if they win the next T20, will reclaim back their ranking as number one in the T20 standings. And the way they're going, they look very likely to reclaim that title.
Do you think the fact that it was over in England had influence? I mean, with the lack of crowd, how important is that in terms of
I'll be honest,
cricket?
I think it probably helped Australia.
Do you reckon?
The last couple of times Australia have been over to play in England, obviously, what with some of the high-profile stories that have broken about things that have happened in the Australian cricket team.
Yeah.
They have been on the receiving end of a fair amount of hostility, is a great word. So I think maybe it probably would have worked in Australia's favour not having
to deal with that.
A stadium full of fans that will be shouting at you. So I think that probably helped Australia. But that team has performed in England before, and I think they mentioned Chris Jordan seems to be very happy to bowl at David Warner. Last time they played against each other, he was I think they said Stuart Broad is the most. He has a big thing about getting David Warner out, but I think they said Chris Jordan is second. So yeah, he's looking good. I agree with you. I think Rashid and Tom Curran were both looking good. Jofra Archer was rapid.
Yeah,
like super quick.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm pretty happy with how England played that. To be honest, I think they should be happy in themselves, and I think they're on the charge to take back that number one spot.
One of the last things to mention is the fact that Pat Cummins has one of the best spoonerisms in sports, where if you change his first letter and last letter, and first letter of his first name and first letter of his last name, it comes out as Cat Pummins, and there's something beautiful about that name that I don't think can be overlooked.
We shall move on. That's about 10 minutes ish on the cricket. So I think, like I said, there hasn't been loads to talk about. So we'll probably leave it there on the cricket.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to mention England, Australia. I mean, it's
definitely, because I know we've got a lot of other things we want to talk about.
Yeah.
Again, my least confident segment coming up, so we'll move on to the football. It's quite nice to have Harry here.
Before we recorded this, he had a lot of input in this. So this isn't going to be a one-way conversation. Don't worry.
Definitely not. But it's nice to have somebody else here who really enjoys the football. So
I think
a bit like
obsession is the word. So, I think obsession is the word.
I think if it was me and somebody else who wasn't a big fan of football, it would be pretty boring segment.
We wouldn't have a football segment.
No. Yeah, I know you want to talk a bit about the internationals.
Just quickly run through a bit of the home nation stuff. I mean, obviously the other day we watched. I watched the Wales game, Wales-Finland, and the problem I've got at the moment in this current time is the fact that we're having internationals. I know it's Nation League and they say it's a competitive tournament, but it really isn't. It's just dressed up friendlies, and I think the situation where this is supposed to be a break for players before the new season just shows how unfit players are. Yeah,
you can't.
Yeah, the standard of football is just, I won't say atrocious, because obviously international football has a reputation for being subpar anyway. I mean, it's not an entertaining spectacle, especially when you get European refs who just blow up on everything and slow the game down. But when you put players in that are that unfit, it just makes it even worse. I mean,
Gareth Bale that hasn't played football.
He was playing his first game since February. That's ridiculous. I mean, obviously he's a quality player. You're not going to not include him. But the game was dire. I mean, it wasn't. Yeah. It wasn't. Ryan Giggs football is supposed to be this fast counter-attacking football with a strong setup behind it. And to an extent, we saw that. And Finland are looking really good at the moment. I mean, as a Norwich fan, I know that I appreciate Teemu Pukki, but yeah, obviously the Wales won 1-0. That was a decent game.
Yeah, I think after the last Euros, Wales fans will be looking back on their sunset of yesterday.
Exactly. Yeah. We're hoping for pastures greener yet again, you know. But
we're hoping for
but
Hal Robson-Kanu-esque.
Yeah, exactly.
Scenes.
Keeping more and more of a Sam Vokes, but good result. I mean, I got nothing more to say about it. It was a good result. And then England are the other ones.
Themselves into a bit of a sticky situation with Kyle Walker getting double yellowed.
Yeah, so Kyle Walker obviously has not had the greatest of summers with a lot of controversy surrounding him and some of the actions he's had. But Gareth Southgate willing to take another chance at him. I don't think he's played a game for England since 2019. And I actually thought first half he had a really good half. He was one of the players that was getting on the ball, was really quick, moving the ball forward, even from a right-back position. I thought he looked decent. His first yellow card was a bit unlucky. It was a late push. I mean, nothing much in it. The second one was, it was a yellow, and he got sent off. And at that point, it was 0-0, and I think I was yawning at the TV. It was shocking. I mean, everyone knew how Iceland were going to set up, but it's an England team with Sterling on one wing, Sancho on the other, and you're thinking, yeah, okay, these are going to get through any bank of 4, and then the 2 up top that drop deep. But they didn't. There was no energy in the way they wanted to play. And yet again, it might come down to a fitness perspective. But still, it was disappointing to see that they won't have a go at trying to break them down.
Who are they playing next?
I know they play... I think we're recording this on the...
It'll be an important test.
Yeah, they play on Tuesday. And... Yeah, I think they need to play more teams like Iceland to show how they can break teams down. Yeah, it's Denmark, who are a bit more creative in the way they play. No disrespect, like Iceland are a fantastic team for the stuff that they've done with the population they have and the resources they have. It's incredible. But yeah, they got Denmark on Tuesday, which is a good test for them in the sake that we'll see how they defend more. They didn't cope that well with the long balls in. I mean, as the game developed, they had the red card, and I thought...
They got lucky with a penalty.
So they did have a goal disallowed in the first half that should have been a goal. I will admit that. But the penalty coming in the 90th minute was a shocking decision. I mean, the ball got crossed in, it bobbled around the box, Sterling hits it, defender goes to block it, arms by his chest, nothing he can do about it. And ref gives a penalty for handball. Sends the Icelandic defender off for a second yellow. Stupid decision, and Sterling just rolls it down the middle. Then, no less than, I'd say, a minute later, the ball is lumped forward by Iceland as they would. And that's when we saw the struggle. I mean, Joe Gomez is a quality Premier League centre-back. And he's just brought his man down, crossing his body in the box. You're thinking, well, why are you doing that a minute after you've just scored what could be the winner?
Yeah, exactly.
Iceland get the penalty. I mean, credit to James Ward-Prowse for messing up the penalty spot just before they take it. I mean, pure shithousery, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, you'd love to see it.
And Bjarnason steps up, former Aston Villa player, so I haven't got much hope for him.
Skies it?
Yeah, absolutely skies it. I mean, Pickford celebrates like he's just saved the winner in the World Cup.
I've heard a lot of chat about Pickford being included in this.
Yeah,
What do you think about that?
I think I can see why he still starts for England, because he has not put a foot wrong for him. He's never been... In an England shirt, I've not seen a bad performance from him. Maybe one, but in retrospect, like he's a quality England keeper. But the season he's had has been close to dire.
Yeah.
Not Eric Dyer, although he is pretty dire. But Nick Pope should be starting. Dean Henderson has an argument for
I think Evan agrees with you on that one.
Yeah, you can't look at Nick Pope's record this season and go, he's a benchable keeper. It's not right. Obviously, it's a lot different with keepers. I saw an argument the other week that was about David De Gea, and it's if a striker was making as many mistakes as often as the keeper does, you'd be dropped and have someone else come in. So why is it different for goalkeepers? Why is it different? I mean, is it the fact that goalkeepers on the bench aren't as ready, match experience? But Nick Pope's played every game. I think he deserves to start.
Give him a chance at least.
Yeah, I think Iceland was chucking players in that have a last shout at being in the team. I mean, Trippier at left back isn't going to be started. It's going to be Chilwell. 100% it's going to be Chilwell. The centre back partnership of Dyer and Gomez is to see who partners Maguire. It's nothing to do with whether you're starting and playing and whatever. And then Kyle Walker is obviously to come back and see if he can get ahead of Trent. Not going to happen, but he threw players in to see how they cope in a situation like that.
Yeah.
And sadly, Kyle Walker didn't step. Well, I thought he stepped up and then got the red card. So I think it showed passion more than anything. He was the only player that was pressing for me. So I don't think he'll get ahead of Trent.
He's always been.
Yeah, he's a good player. Yeah. He's a good player. I don't think he gets ahead of Trent unless they go to a back five.
Shall we move on to some transfer news?
Yes.
So obviously the big ones in the Premier League: Van der Beek to United, and Kai Havertz Chelsea. Which I mean, everyone's done. That's been coming for a while.
Yeah, I think the Havertz deal for me is obviously
big.
Yeah,
Chelsea's team is shaping up to be crazy.
Yeah, I think they're the only team that come close to the top two.
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
So it'll be a dogfight between Chelsea and Liverpool. You reckon?
It'll be Chelsea, Liverpool, and then City will win it. That's how it works. I think Arsenal are looking really good as well. And I don't even think a squad. I think the squad has always been there, but with Arteta's management of it.
Yeah, club legend, isn't it? It's just the club legend effect.
Exactly. Just looks really good. I mean, I watched him in the Community Shield.
Yeah.
And they dominated Liverpool for a vast period of the game.
I think they played the last two times they played Liverpool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So,
I mean, 4 months they've beaten Liverpool twice.
And like in the Premier League this year, nobody's looked even remotely close.
No one. I mean,
City
wins. Didn't look close until the end of the season.
For Arsenal under a new manager.
Gives you confidence. Yeah. I mean, everyone says the Community Shield is just a curtain raiser. It's just for show. Yeah. But if you win,
it doesn't change the fact they play Liverpool.
It's a competitive game at Wembley. I mean, you're not going to go there and think, it's just another game.
No.
If you win that, especially as the underdog, it gives you big hope for the season.
Yeah. But one thing I will say about the Van der Beek deal is United need a centre back.
Yeah, it's a very, very. I mean, I wouldn't say it's a weird signing because obviously he's wanted by big European clubs. I knew he came out the other day after he signed for United and said,
"Don't get me wrong, it's a good signing, but they need a centre back, desperately crying out."
I
for
think
a
he's
centre back.
He is £40 million worth, though. I don't think you can go. If it was any higher than that, I'd be like, it doesn't warrant it. He's an Eredivisie player. No. But then you look at Frankie de Jong at Barcelona, and he is quality.
Touch of class from Edwin van der Sar as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, that message was really nice.
I know you mentioned with Chelsea, none of their transfers were even like crazy money. They were all pretty decent.
Yeah, so
buys.
I was saying to Nath earlier, in this current market, especially as a Premier League club, with the pulling power you have, but also with the reputation of having big money, you are looking at signing players for over 100 million. I mean, you look at Sancho, Dortmund won 120 million. Like, that's what they. I don't think he's worth that, but that's what they want.
I will not name the friend, but one of my friends said I don't even think he's worth 50 million at this point.
Yeah, he's especially watching him against Iceland. But anyway, you look at the signings Chelsea have made. I think Werder's the only one they've slightly overpaid for, but that's personal preference. Yeah. I mean, people will say he's a quality striker, and I can't. You can't debate that. He is world class. But I still think Abraham and Giroud will give him a good run for his money. I don't think people realise that. I don't think but then he's not a first choice. I mean, the thing is with Giroud, if he shows his grandkids his goals he scored, they're going to think he's Pele.
Yeah, he's got a crazy highlight reel. Somebody
ridiculous.
Put that in a group chat. I was like, this guy's kind of good.
If you put a banging dubstep track over every goal he scored in the Premier League, you'd have a world-class montage. But yeah, so for Chelsea to pay under 100 million for every player they've got is ridiculous. I mean, obviously Ben Chilwell at 50 million, but he's an English left back.
Yeah. What do you think of Wilson from Bournemouth to Newcastle?
Yeah,
20 million.
Yeah, if you're playing Football Manager, it is the world's best signing you could ever make. However, watching him in the latter half of this season, he looked a little bit off the pace. Maybe injuries are catching up to him, and maybe it was the team. He wasn't getting the service. But in a team with Harry Wilson, I know David Brooks was injured, but Ryan Fraser, even Junior Stanislas can be good on his day. You should be scoring at least 10 goals, and I don't think he even achieved that this season. But he has got that reputation of being a good quality Premier League striker.
Yeah. Well, Newcastle signed Jamal Lewis from Norwich as well. You mentioned.
Yeah, I don't know if it's been agreed yet, but what Liverpool offered us 10 million.
Sign, yeah.
Yeah, Liverpool offered us 10 million. We said we want 20, and Liverpool went
just check now. It said bids accepted. So
there you are. Yeah, it's down to Jamal whether he wants to move.
Getting into the minutiae.
Which I can't blame him, because if you want to go back to the Premier League, go back to the Premier League. And we've done really well offloading players in Newcastle.
You are a Norwich fan.
Yeah. Yeah.
For those that don't know, Harry's a Norwich fan.
Like we've offloaded Jacob Murphy there for 15 million, and he turned out to be dog. So we've done well with some. I mean, Jamal Lewis is a quality left back. They've got a really good player there. And the system they play, he's basically better than Matt Ritchie, but at this point, anyone is. I mean, Newcastle obviously could have had the Saudi money, and they would have been, instead of signing Callum Wilson, it would have been Mbappe. But on Football Manager though, you might argue he's better. So
But yeah, I know you said Wijnaldum not renewing the contract at Liverpool.
Yeah,
so we'll see how that
he
pans
wants
out.
money close to what I can only imagine is 3 figures plus. And
I mean, I would hope so.
Yeah, and they're
Do you
neglecting
mean 6 figures plus?
Yeah,
I say 3 figures.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, triple digit in terms of like 100,000.
Yeah. You don't think he's worth it?
Yeah, I do. I really do. I think for a backup centre midfielder, because that's what they view him as. Although I think he is their best midfielder outside of Henderson.
I know a lot of people said the thing that Liverpool's midfield, the only thing it really lacks is like a bit of creativity. It's a bit like what Fernandes have got at United.
So and obviously they're linked with Thiago. And I think that deal might depend on whether Wijnaldum signs a new contract, because they're neglecting to pay him 100,000 or whatever plus. And I'm thinking, you've just won the Premier League, you won the Champions League the year before. If you think your squad is good enough, keep them. If you think you can get someone better, go out and buy them now. Yeah. Don't wait for Wijnaldum to leave in order to get Thiago in, because maybe they've lost a lot of money. Maybe they don't have the money that we think they do. But to me, it's just, why would you not keep Wijnaldum in your team? He's a quality centre midfielder, even for depth. You know? And they should have the money to pay him the wages he wants, but they're saying they don't want to pay the wages because they can go and get someone better for cheaper. So go and do it. Don't wait for him to. If he's going to have that attitude, just go out and get someone. Yeah. Like, show him that he has to compete at the team and be on those wages to stay there.
Yeah. One thing I want to talk about. Obviously, you support Norwich in the Prem. I believe that is because you manage them on Football Manager, which is why you support Norwich.
No, it was a choice when I was maybe like 12. I just picked 8th in a championship. It turned out to be Norwich, and that season they got promoted. So.
But you also have Catalonian heritage.
I do indeed.
You're a big Barcelona fan.
I do indeed.
And obviously, big news this week, probably the biggest news in the world of football this week, that Messi will be staying until at least the end of 2021 season. Yeah,
he released the interview with Goal. I don't know if you want to check it out on YouTube.
Go watch it. It's very in-depth. It's
about 20 minutes, and it is subtitled. You don't have to speak Spanish. It's all right.
What do you think in terms of Barcelona?
As a Barcelona fan,
I know you said that a lot of transfers may be coming in.
Yeah, I still think it is really sad. I think he should have been allowed to go. I mean, it's all down to Josep Bartomeu. I don't know if you saw throughout the season, there were rumours of him leaving. In the interview, he states that he had discussions with the president at the time, saying, "I want to leave at the end of the season," and the president said, "Okay, when the end of the season comes, it is completely up to you what you do, where you go." And Messi has said that he's gone back on his word, and this is what hurts most. He has the right to take him to trial and show that his contract will allow him to be released. But he is neglectful to do that because he loves the club. Yeah, as you would be. as you would be.
And he's done other things that he's done with Barcelona. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like, he should be allowed to leave. He's given everything to the club from such a young age. I mean, the other thing that I think he stayed for, besides the fact of the president going back on his word, is his family are very neglectful to leave.
Yeah, they don't want to go.
I mean, in the interview, they joke about how the main opinion is down to Thiago, his son. And he states that he's not old enough to know what's going on, but he said that when he told the family, all he did was cry and said he didn't want to leave. So I think obviously he's going to leave next year when his contract's up. At that point, it depends on the season he has now, but whether he goes to another top European club will depend on the season, or whether he's at the age where he goes, you know what, I'm ready to go back to Argentina and go back to Newell's.
What kind of transfers outside of the Messi thing do you think Barcelona are going to be making?
Well, I know Rakitic is gone. He's gone back to Sevilla for something like 1.2 million euros, which is ridiculously cheap.
A steal.
Quality player. Obviously, I think he's like 34 now. He's knocking on a bit, but still a great player. Suarez, I think, is the next big one, and Juventus are close to agreeing a deal for him. Yeah. I know Ronald Koeman obviously has just come in, and he's stated to Busquets and Piqué that their places and their kind of roles that they play in the team are on the verge of being broken. And I think Messi has stated that he wants to see the club bring through young players rather than buying players in. So I think transfer-wise, there's going to be a lot of outgoings, but not a lot of incomings.
Not a lot of ingoings,
because they've got Carlos Elena ready to step in the centre mid. Ansu Fati, who's obviously 16 and absolutely dominates La Liga, like a ridiculous player for the age he is. A junior Firpo at left back. I mean, Ter Stegen's the only one that you look at and go, yeah, he's kept his place. Like, there's no trouble there. I think Semedo's on his way out. So yeah, I think it'll be a rebuilding time for Barcelona. Much like Madrid did 3 years ago, and then they got Zidane in and won the Champions League again. They lost Ronaldo, and everyone went, "Oh, they've lost Ronaldo, and they won La Liga again." Like it's everyone's looking at it like it's the most dire situation in the world because they lost 8-2 to Bayern Munich.
Yeah,
that was still a quarterfinal of a Champions League. It's not like they were completely knocked out in the group stages, or they went to fifth in La Liga. They finished second, a couple of points behind Real Madrid. Yeah, it's not as dire as people have made it out to be. If Messi had left, then fine, you rebuild with a squad around someone else. Like the Barcelona will always be a big club. I don't think it's a case of, I mean, because La Liga isn't as competitive as the Premier League, or teams won't be projected to go higher than they finished the year before. I mean, it won't happen like Man United did. No offense to United, but like they were the best team in the world, and they dropped down to a top 6 team at best. You can't see that happening with Barcelona. No, because there's no way they still finish behind Bilbao, Valencia, Villarreal through a season. It just doesn't happen. No, third is the worst they'll get. So
yeah. I think it'll be interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
I think we are running out of time very quickly. So I know there was a few things toward of rugby that have popped up this week that I wanted to touch on. Yeah. We were thinking of talking about the US Open, but I'm going to be really honest and say I do not think we're going to have time. So we may have to come back and revisit the US Open next week. Yeah. But I think it's been doing the rounds on Twitter and social media. Owen Farrell looking at a pretty long ban, I think. He could miss... Lengthy. Well, he's definitely going to miss the next round of the European Cup with Sarries, which is a big hurt because he's been such a crucial part of all the European Cup campaigns. Yep.
You think it'll be about 8 weeks, don't you?
Oh, it'll probably be longer than that. He might miss that at the...
Does it work off weeks or games?
Well, it's normally weeks. Right. So it's like a time period ban, but I think... Farrell, this has probably been quite a long time in the making. I think he's had a few tackles where he's been lucky not to get looked at further.
He's built up the reputation.
He's always, I think it's his rugby league background, like aiming for the chest, and like that's pretty typical. But obviously all it takes is somebody to duck a bit lower, and you haven't made a proper effort to get your arms involved. Like, sometimes you still see it in rugby league, even though strictly speaking it's not allowed anymore. It's always been part of rugby league, leading with the shoulder, and I think he's going to be looking at a long ban, like probably the upper end of what the high tackle But then again, I think the things that are going to go against him is he's got a straight arm.
Yeah, we were discussing this beforehand. We had a little bit of a debate.
A little bit of a swing. And
yeah, we got a little bit of a debate. So obviously
he knew it.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So Nath had the opinion that when he goes in for the tackle, he goes in with the straight arm and knows what he's doing when he goes in.
I think it was a frustration tackle.
Yeah, and I can see that. I can see he's gone into the tackle in poor form, but I think he hasn't got a chance to pull out. I think he just has to hit him. There's no opportunity.
I disagree though.
Yeah,
man.
see, I watched it and I
think...
he
had time. The guy was coming from the blind side of that guy. The guy couldn't see he was there. He was looking around for what play he was going to make. And I think the fact that it was from it was a blindside tackle.
Yeah.
And the fact that it was straight arm, semi-swinging. I don't really think you could say it's a full-on swinging arm, but I think the fact that his arm's shoulder. And it's hit him in the neck and
he
head.
was out cold. He looked like he was out cold.
Yeah, he was lucky that he didn't really seriously.
But as soon as Farrell hits the ground, he knows he's made a bad tackle.
It's one of the worst tackles we've seen recently in terms of contact with the head.
Yeah, it was.
And nowadays, the World Rugby stance is absolutely crystal clear on this.
Yeah,
it won't be tolerated.
Yeah, I remember the spear challenges. It's growing towards.
But when
that.
you've got people like Lawrence Delalio saying, and Lawrence Delalio is a big fan of Owen Farrell. We all know this.
He's a big fan of England rugby.
People are saying, he needs to do better. He can't be doing these things. And so I think
Lawrence Delalio came out and said, "I can't defend that."
No, and it capped off a horrible evening for the Saris. They didn't. It was not a loss they wanted. But there's been a few big dominant performances in the Premiership. Bath absolutely dominated Quins.
Yeah.
Destroyed Quins. And the Bears, they dominated Worcester. Piatau, sick. He is so good. He really was good for Bristol. And just looking like a spark of the team.
Bristol looked like a good team. Bristol looks like a really good team.
Man.
Obviously Exeter.
Exeter
still going strong.
They had got it in at the very end to get a victory over what looked like quite a dejected Saints side at the start of the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, Exeter, I think pretty much everyone knows Exeter are going to win the Premiership this year.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be a huge upset if they didn't.
I know Exeter, they've come a long way as a team over the last 10 years, and I think they're looking really good.
They do. They look really good.
Yeah, Sale
beating Leicester. Looked like a good game.
Yeah,
good
obviously Manu Tuolangi there. And Faf de Klerk just being Faf de Klerk.
Yeah.
Just drop gold in the first couple of minutes out of nowhere. Just like, we'll go.
The one thing when I was watching some of these games was I'm surprised by the fitness levels of the players.
I think rugby players in the off season, pre-season, is such a big part of staying fit. And I think it's a thing in all sports. But I mean,
the drop off seems to look less in rugby than in other sports. I mean, I was saying about the football, the players looked tired by the first half. I was watching a rugby and 80th minute, they're not huffing and puffing.
No, maybe
they're still producing good performances.
Yeah, they all look
testament to the sport,
good.
really.
They all look in pretty good nick.
Yeah, testament to the sport.
They all look in pretty good nick. But going back again to that point, I think Owen Farrell knows he's screwed up, and I think he's just going to take this ban on the chin. He was very apologetic. He knew he screwed up.
Does he come back a better player?
I'm hoping that this will. Because everyone knows that for the last couple of years he has had a problem with dodgy tackles, and he was on the receiving end of one in the World Cup in the game against the USA. He was on the receiving end of a nasty shoulder charge, and people have. I think a lot of people have forecast he was probably going to get a card for a dodgy tackle, and and this one was a bad one. This one was a particularly bad
tackle.
But I think the Premiership games were really good. I mean, I had a good time watching them.
Yeah.
I'll hopefully bring more rugby in now it's fully back up and running, not just Premiership, Pro 14.
I've watched some of the Pro 14. Obviously, we won't get into it today, but
especially
the games look really good.
Being Welsh, I should be watching the Pro 14.
Looking at the team, the Scarlets look really good at the moment. So, Pro 14 also looking like the players are doing justice for the game of rugby.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we are slightly over an hour, so slightly run over, but I'm not going to tell anyone if you don't. But yeah, thank you very much, Harry, for filling in.
Yeah, that's all right. Anytime.
Well, at very, very short notice. Yeah, so really appreciate that.
Anytime.
From me and Ev, we appreciate you jumping in to steady the ship.
I'm sure I'll be back again soon.
I mean, you've been twice now. I'm sure we'll get you back on sometime soon. But
just love having me around. That's all it is.
Exactly. But thank you if you've made it this far. You definitely are probably a bit mad. But if you have, make sure you drop down below and drop a like, drop a sub, wherever you may be listening from. All of our social media links will be down in the description, so make sure you go down there and give us a follow so you can stay up to date with things that we may be doing. And we sometimes put polls and stuff like that up on Instagram just to see where people want us to go in terms of the direction we take. And thank you very much, Harry. I'm sure everyone will love to hear from you again soon.
Yeah. Well, I'll hopefully be back soon and back stronger, I guess, as Ev would say.
Definitely.
Yeah, cheers, guys.
Cheers, mate. See you soon.
See you soon.